This December 4th, 2013 City Commission meeting will come to order. Madam City Manager.
Would all who care to do so please stand and join me in the invocation? Dear God, as we approach the holiday season, typically noted for joy, family gatherings, and an attitude of giving and receiving, we thank you for the intangible blessings of health, life, love, and goodwill towards men. Keep us strong in commitment to provide services to our citizens of the highest caliber, such that the result is a community that is consistently enhanced by our efforts. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. I don't have my computer. Madam City Manager, are there any agenda modifications?
We do have several additions to the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
We have added item number 7.01, which is a presentation by Florida State University on plans for future convention center district, and David Coburn is here to make that presentation to you. Item number 13.04, discussion of potential projects for the city's 10% share of the sales tax extension, also has been added. Also, I'd like for you to just note that the vote on item 9.04, which is an approval of a subdivision plat, Summit East Phase 2-3C, has to be held after discussion of the item, and the discussion is scheduled for 13.01.
All right. Another modification. We will go in recess at approximately 4:45 or so. Today there will be a dedication of it's the amphitheater at Clayman Plaza in the name of former Commissioner
Steve Meisberg.
Steve Meisberg. So we're going to break then and for a short period of time and come back and reconvene the meeting. Okay. Next item.
You're on presentations.
Presentations. That's. I hope they put them on the desk. I left mine upstairs. Okay. Well, Ivan Maldonado, Brian Waterman, Kenneth Smith, and Sandra Manning, please join me. Along with all the Star Metro agency representatives in attendance, please join me at the podium. Come on, everybody. Who's driving the buses? All right. We have some great and exciting news to share with you about Star Metro. They are the recipient of not only one award, but 7 national and state recognitions. They've created some innovative ways to reach our customers. One exciting way has been the new Rhythm Route and the new electric bus fleet, which, by the way, is the largest all-electric fast-charging bus fleet in the United States. I want that to soak in. That's this city. That's why we're a smart city. Also, I'd like to recognize Brian Waterman, Star Metro's transit planning manager, who was just recently named Top 40 Under 40 by the Mass Transit magazine. Raise your hand, Brian. So that he is right.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean, Mr. Mayor, under 40?
Yeah, you got to tell us, Brian. You tell us what.
I'm not quite 40 years old yet. I turned 36 this month. It means that I'm being recognized by my peers in the industry as being committed to transit, committed to making Tallahassee a great place, and I want to keep going with that.
Thank you.
So.
This annual award, there's some description here. This annual National Award honors professionals who have made significant contributions to the public transit industry. Nominated by their peers, winners are judged on criteria that include job commitment, industry involvement and contribution, achievement within the position, and innovation in the field. And we already have joined to congratulate Brian on this wonderful award. Thank you again, Brian. This just goes to show you the quality of employees that we hire at the City of Tallahassee. Dedicated, truly dedicated employees want to do a wonderful job for our citizens. Now, Florida Department of Transportation honored Kenneth Smith with the 2013 Bus Mechanic of the Year Award for his outstanding service at Star Metro. Kenneth, where are you?
There he is.
Oh, he's behind me too. Kenneth, come here. There you go. Yeah, he wants to say, come on.
I just, enjoyed all the recognition I got from DOT, Florida Transportation, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Kenneth say, I might speak, you just try and fix a bus, Mayor, and see what happens. Let me say this, for 30 years, Kenneth has provided exemplary work on the FDOT statewide maintenance committee and has also accumulated numerous ASE certifications and other professional accomplishments. Again, congratulations to Kenneth. Ivan Maldonado, director of Star Metro, was awarded the 2013 Partner Award for Buyer for Service from Respect of Florida. Where is Ivan? Here he is. You want to say something, you guys want to? Y'all tell us what respect is, okay?
I'm going to let John McBride.
I'll let you hold some of your hardware. Sure. I'm John McBride. I'm with Respect of Florida. If I'd known there would be so much awards and accolades, we would have got something bigger. But I didn't want it to pass everybody's attention that the City of Tallahassee and Star Metro have such a commitment to persons with disabilities. Respect of Florida is enabled by Chapter 413, and it allows us to employ persons with disabilities to do things like clean the buses at Star Metro. If you ever travel on I-10, all the interstates on I-10, all the rest areas on I-10, janitorial and lawn care is done by persons with disability through the Respect program. Not just being a good customer, but your commitment to persons with disabilities in this community makes me proud to be a Tallahassean. I don't know if y'all are aware of the Braille codes they're putting on the bus stop verticals so that people that are visually impaired can learn about the route and things. But it's a great pleasure to give this to you, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Well, again, we have to govern for all of our citizens, and we want to make sure that those who may not be, who may be disabled, we want to make sure that they have the same quality of life that all of us have. We have to do that. So this is a concerted effort on the part of the City of Tallahassee, and I want to congratulate Ivan and all of his staff for making sure that those citizens that may be disabled can enjoy the fruits of this community. Oh, this award goes to honorees whose agencies have partnered with Respect to help preserve the dignity of independence of citizens with disabilities. Over the past 13 years, Star Metro has employed many disabled citizens through Respect to clean and refuel buses, empty fare boxes, and provide other light maintenance work. So we want to thank our Star Metro for everything they have done in this area. Now, and lastly, this award goes to Sandra Manning. Is she behind me? Come on. Okay. She was named the winner of numerous marketing awards from the Florida Public Transportation Agency for the electric bus fleet campaign titled Buzz So Big, We Can't Hide It. This initiative received first place for signage and graphics, second place for special events campaigns, and second place for online communications of social media. This large and robust campaign also earned the coveted Best of Best Awards, which honors the top overall marketing efforts in the state of Florida for 2013. Entries are judged on innovation, production quality, overall effectiveness, and special thanks to the Bo Stern, you got to tell us who that is, Bo Stern, for all their contributions with this innovative campaign. With such honors, Star Metro has become an industry model, and that's what we want, and continues to embrace this model. Smart city, smart transit, moving forward together. Thank you all for your service and the great work you've done Sandra, where are you?
Here I am.
You never lost your words. Come on. Sandra. This lady does a wonderful job in our marketing department. Believe me, she's just.
Thank you, Mayor Marks. And I'd like to say thank you to the commissioners because they always support all of our endeavors, and we're going to continue to make our Star Metro the best bus system in the state of Florida. We're moving forward together, and thank you for this recognition. I just wanted to say also, I'd like to thank Bow Stern because we could not have pulled this. We did a lot of social media, and they are awesome. They are also team, and we work well together. Thank you, Bow Stern.
Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager, appointed officials, Mr. Fernandez, John, and everyone that is here that came to congratulate us for this awards. I'm thankful for you doing this today. To all of our staff, you definitely are dedicated, hardworking. Your accomplishments are well noticed, and I am very thankful and very grateful for everything that you do every day. Thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Of course, I, as mayor and the city commission and the appointed officials, really thank you for the great job you're doing on behalf of the citizens of this community. This is really what we call greatness in our community. They do a wonderful job, and we have other departments, by the way, who are number one as well. Thank you, great. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before you go to the next presentation, we have a special visitor that is here, and the visitor's getting overheated, so we thought we better get him in here now.
Oh, my goodness, who is this?
Mr. Cook, how are you?
The county commission's here?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Manager, we're here today. We want to extend a personal invitation to all of you to join us this coming weekend for our annual Winter Festival activities. We've got Santa and Mrs. Claus here. I know Santa wants to extend a personal invitation. I'll let him have the mic for a minute.
Just have a moment to speak. Have to get back up to the North Pole, but wanted to invite all the little boys and girls here to go to the Winter Festival Parade this Saturday at 7:15.
All right.
All right.
Just very quickly, we have the Winter Festival in its entirety, runs from 3 to 10. The lighting ceremony is at 6. Jingle Bell runs 6:15. Holiday Parade, sponsored by Your Own Utilities, kicks off at 7:15. Hope to see all of you there.
Thank you.
Let me tell you, while they walk out, this Winterfest has become huge, really, one of the largest winter parades in the nation now. And the gentleman that we're going to honor, Steve Meisberg, if you want to know, was one of the individuals largely responsible for letting this happen. I don't know, how many years ago now?
25 plus.
1987?
1987?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to take that opportunity to recognize Steve Meisberg, one of our city commissioners, and we're going to honor him in a few minutes, in about 30 minutes. Green City Certification. Well, Suzanne Cook, Executive Director of the Florida Green Building Coalition, along with Cynthia Barber, Director of the Department of Environmental Policy and Energy Resources. Would you please join me at this podium? Come on up, John Baker. You're part of this. Go on. All of y'all, come on.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Suzanne Cook with the Florida Green Building Coalition. Today, we're here to recognize the City of Tallahassee as a Florida Green local government after it successfully met the certification standards established in the 5-year recertification program. Tallahassee achieved 57.6% of its applicable 363 points, earning it a gold level certification. Of the 49 local governments that are currently certified, Tallahassee holds the second highest score in the state. It was only surpassed 2 weeks ago by the city of Dunedin. So congratulations. The program criteria includes evaluations of energy and water usage, air quality, health issues, land use, recycling and waste disposal, maintenance policies, education programs, purchasing practices, regulatory policies, and many other items. The designation demonstrates exemplary leadership by Mayor John Marks and other elected officials who provided the framework and support for the staff to move forward with the certification process that helps to better manage the cost of government. Their leadership in this effort will help protect and conserve the community's natural resources, enhance the efficiency of the government, thus reducing the cost of taxpayers, and raise public awareness about the benefits of environmental stewardship. In order to achieve the certification, the Tallahassee staff, led by Cynthia Barber, with support from Adam Jacobs, undertook an extensive audit of all the functions that the city performs. Every department. From there, the teams used the FGBC Green Certification Tool to identify methods to improve sustainability in their business practices and operations. One goal of the program is to lead by example, to encourage the private sector to apply the same principles through the creation of green homes, green commercial buildings, and green land developments. Today, I'm proud to announce that there are 400 certified green homes in just the city of Tallahassee. That does not include surrounding areas. So congratulations for that. Bringing together community, businesses, and residents with the common objectives and overlapping interests can lead to integrated environmental solutions for local issues. Specifically, some of the green achievements that Tallahassee achieved: they developed and implemented an environmentally preferred purchasing program. They implemented the internationally recognized ISO 14011 environmental management system that helps to develop targets and plans to achieve both significant and incremental environmental improvements. They adopted green cleaning and maintenance policies. They utilized renewable energy, offered incentives for FGBC and Energy Star certified green homes and green redevelopment. The Tallahassee, a year or so ago, offered a special program, incentive program to builders, and it was based on a rebate for square footage of the home. So that program was so successful, it was commended all across the state for encouraging green development in Tallahassee. Well done. Some of the other things, they offered discounted products to the public. They adopted the FGBC and the LEED Green certification standards as the official standards for the city. They require mitigation for the consumption of natural resources. They maintain a green fleet and utilize alternative fuel. And they apply the Florida-friendly green landscaping principles to public amenities. They implemented the Florida Department of Transportation 12 steps towards a walkable community and offer recycling, collection, and education to businesses and multifamily buildings. And they created a reclaimed water infrastructure. So with that, I want to present this to you, Mayor Marks
And Cynthia.
So congratulations for the second time. This is, again, their 5-year recertification process, so congratulations.
Thank you so very much. I'm very excited to receive this recognition on behalf of our city. And being a gold certified city, really reinforces the commitment that we have to protecting our environment, protecting our local economy, and also protecting this community. And now this certification recognizes the efforts of the city department and their contributions to sustainability, which is so very important. And with that, I'm going to call on, wait a minute. This comes from the development of a Gaines Street Brownfield corridor, the smart grid technology we have in place, advanced wastewater treatment. The city continues to invest in the future, and we will continue to do that. And with this, I want Cynthia Barber, the person that spearheads all of these projects, to come forward and let us know. Come on, Cynthia. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor. My comments will be brief. One of the things I want to just say is it's because of the leadership and support of the commission and our city manager and the mayor, you, of course, Mayor, that we're able to achieve this While I stand to collect the award, I wanted to recognize all of the departments who have contributed. This is not an effort of the Environmental Policy and Injury Resources Department alone. We have the support of all of our departments, and you've heard that in all of the recognitions that Suzanne mentioned. And really, it is the culture that you have implemented in this organization that's led to these kinds of results. And you've heard the benefits financially, environmentally, and in terms of socially, and how we have improved the quality of life for the citizens of Tallahassee. And we're just grateful to be recognized again once again this 5-year period.
I do want to congratulate EPR for their hard work, and recognizing what we have to do in this city to be sustainable. Now, the other thing is we got to make sure that we carry this over to our citizens so they can do the same thing. But thank you again for everything. We really appreciate that certification, gold certification. We're going to try harder next year. We're going to try hard. All right, thank you very much. All right, next item.
The next item is 5.03, and it is a Cascades Park grand opening update by Wayne Tedder and Michelle Bono.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I am very excited to give you this update on Cascades Park. The wait is almost over. I can see the light. I'm hoping for an amen.
Amen.
All right.
Maybe a train.
Here we go. Back some time ago, the manager asked me to continuously every month bring you an update on Cascades Park, show you the progress we have as we are getting closer to the opening of the park. Blueprint staff and city and county staff, we all sat down together to figure out a way to do this update in a way that is clever, and we hope that you find it clever, that will not only update you on the progress of the park, but also inform the citizens of how we are investing the Blueprint sales tax dollars in our community. I don't think anyone in this room or in the community can even begin to describe the value that Cascades Park will bring to our community, and especially our downtown area. I know you all you want to ask, when are we going to open the park?
No, we don't.
Well, I'm not going to tell you. What we are planning is a formal announcement, a rollout sometime later, so as we get closer to that, we are going to develop a process in which you are involved in doing the rollout for the formal announcement, and we think it'll be pretty exciting for the community. But I will tell you, per the direction of the intergovernmental agency at a previous meeting, your direction was to have this park completed in March. We are on track to have it completed in March. The weather's been great. Construction activity is moving along superbly. We can't be more pleased with the progress that we have at this point. Now, as you are aware, Cascades Park is the signature project for our Blueprint program. But we have a lot of citizens in our community who may live far away from Cascades Park or have been far away removed from the Blueprint process who don't know anything about the park. We have citizens who drive by the area on Appalachia Parkway and Monroe Street and only see a glimpse of the construction activity that's occurred in the area. Well, we hope this update will include a bird's eye perspective of the progress we're making at this point. And then after this video, we're going to have Michelle come up and tell you how we are trying to communicate the park or communicate what this park means to our community, to our citizens. So without any further ado, I will turn this over to the video.
Hey, over here. Yeah, hey, it's me. Yeah, I know. I usually go for the nightlife around here, but I've discovered a new place so cool that I thought I should show you around in the daytime. Hey, listen, my family's lived here for generations. I've seen lots of changes in this town, but nothing compares to this. For example, see that pond over there? Looks nice, doesn't it? Now, does that look like a stormwater pond to you? I don't think so. And there's actually a story behind it. In fact, this whole downtown area is chock full of history. For example, legend has it that back in the 1800s, just after Florida became a state, They were looking for a place to build the new Capitol. Well, St. Augustine was too far east. Pensacola was too far west. Miami wasn't even around yet. So as they were looking around, they came across a spring-fed pond and a waterfall. Yeah, that's right, a waterfall in Florida. Can you believe it? And the water was cascading down through the rocks. So they called it the Cascades. Yeah, go figure. Now, I know what you're thinking. Waterfalls in Tallahassee? Right. Well, yeah, there was one right over there. But over the years, our city grew so fast, some things just got overlooked. And back then, we didn't know all that we know now about pollution and preservation, environmental protection. Hey, I tried to tell them. I'm the wise old owl, right? Well, I'm not that old, but anyway, the spring turned into a ditch, and the ditch turned into a deeper ditch, and it still kept flooding all the time. Hey, you remember Franklin Boulevard. Remember this? Okay, so the city and county voters approved this organization called Blueprint 2000. And they figured, hey, let's get everybody to chip in an extra penny on the sales tax and we can start fixing all this stuff. And I said, fine with me, because I'm tired of looking at all them ugly chain-link stormwater ponds. Now listen, they invested money all over this town. But as far as I'm concerned, this is the crown jewel right here. They're putting in 2 ponds, an amphitheater. And I told them, hey, don't put a fountain in here unless it's one you can play in and have fun in. We've had enough of those look only don't touch fountains, you know what I mean? And by the way, they put the Cascades back. That's right. And when the water starts flowing, you'd never even know that it serves as a stormwater pond. Smart, huh? And who thought of that? Who? They don't call me wise for nothing. Okay, so that's all I can tell you right now. They're still working on it. Hey, we need a little more mulch, a little more muley grass right over here. Okay, good man. Yep, they're rocking right along. Won't be long now. Hey, I tell you what, I'll come back in a month and I'll fill you in on all there is to discover at Cascades Park. Hey, when's the fountain gonna be ready? I could use a bath right now, you know what I mean?
We loved it. We thought it was fun. Oops, we're gonna show it again. No, we won't. It was so good, we'll show it again. I wanted to mention, we hired Impact Visual Media. If some of you may have recognized that voice, that was Charlie Belvin, who helped produce that, and Chucha Barber. And we thank them for being here today.
Charlie, stand up.
So when Wayne asked the city and the county and the Blueprint folks to work together on a plan, we had a vested ownership because when this park is completed, as you all know, it will become a city park. So we're looking long-term, not just at the launch of the park, but also how it will continue. Real quickly, we just have 2 themes we're going to be pushing. The first you've heard in the video, it's Discover Cascades, and we're going to talk about it ahead of time, during the launch, and afterwards, because there's going to be a lot of things to discover. As soon as we nail down the date, we're going to kick off a countdown to Cascades, and we'll have regular events counting down within 90 days of when we're going to launch. Starting today, we're launching the social media platform. We've established a Discover Cascades YouTube page, which is where this video will go. We have all the hashtags and the Twitter accounts and the social media. And what we want people to do is get excited and share with their friends. So the other thing I want to mention briefly is that we have a lot of sponsors in this community who put a lot of money into this project, from the walking trails to the different amenities. And so we're going to be highlighting those sponsors and working in partnership with them so that their members can also receive information from them about this park, from walking trails, again, to all the different things that we'll have in the park. So expect to hear a lot back from us on a regular basis. We'll be coming back with updates every month, and we'll have a new video every month highlighting the different aspects of the park from our good friend the owl, bringing us that bird's eye view. So any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we'll look forward to keeping you updated.
Is it your, thank you very much for the work that you all have been doing on that. I know it's been a completely complicating and involved project with a lot of resources and probably not enough attention on the right parts of what's happening out in Cascades Park. And, you know, it's now up to us, the elected officials not to make decisions that will starve the park of some of its charm and attraction before it's had an opportunity to demonstrate its success. My question to you is, will we be showing that video or updated videos on City Channel? What's the idea of ongoing communication with the broader community outside of these meetings?
Absolutely. It'll go on WCOT. It will be on YouTube. The County Commission is showing it next week as well. Every one of these will come back different times, some to the county first, some to the city first, so it'll be continually shown. We'll show it on WCOT. We're going to really be pushing it via social media. How you all can help us is when we send you the link for this, we encourage you to post it on your own personal Facebook page, share it with all of your friends, because we know the real buzz about this is going to come from discussions one-on-one, and so that's why we're really pushing that whole talk to your friends, share it, and get people excited, because we are genuinely excited. People are going to love this park.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you. Thank you very much. We're all excited, and this is going to be really a true jewel in our community. Next item.
The next item is 7.01, and it's a presentation by Florida State University on their plans for future convention center district. David Coburn is going to make the presentation, but I think Commissioner Gillum may have some remarks he'd like to make.
Well, just to be brief, commissioners, as you all know, and Mayor, we've been almost, I guess, a year now in conversations with Dr. Barron and Dr. Coburn, myself and the city manager, about what we hope will be the probable and eventual transition of property from the CRA to Florida State University in exchange for some property in Cascades Park that we have yet to vision and plan for. We didn't want to have that conversation brought before this body without having some context for the university's broader vision and broader plan. So Dr. Coburn, I'll yield to you to make a presentation, and I think it'll generally focus on the Gaines Street area, Civic Center corridor, but I hope you all will view this in light of what we are also going to be asked to consider when the question of a transfer of property comes to us. So, Mr. Coburn.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. I talked to most of you when we were working on the transfer of the Civic Center. And the question that came up quite a bit was, are you going to work with us on the Firestone blocks of Mannix properties? And the President and I both committed to all of you that we were going to do that, and we have continued to do that. We are working in good faith, and I think we're going to get that done. And I just wanted to say that from the outset. Anita and the Commissioner asked me to give you a quick rundown on what this project hopefully will look like. This is just an illustration of the fact that the Civic Center is basically a mile from Doak Campbell Stadium, and it's also roughly a mile, if you go the other direction, from Cascades Park. So it is a nice transition kind of a zone for this community. We have a timeline in here, and this has been saved on over here, so you folks can have access to it. I don't have handouts, but I'm going to run through this quickly because I know the mayor has to get out of here.
No, I don't, David. I take you to.
This is just a quick timeline of the events, beginning with when we came to the interlocal agreement and some analyses that we've done internally, and also the local bill which abolished the special district and the Civic Center Authority. We then entered into a visioning project with more communications. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. And we had an economic feasibility study, highest and best use kind of analysis initiated. That should be finished by the end of this month. And we have just recently, I think, gotten to virtually the end of the process for contracting for private management for the Civic Center facility itself. This is a set of examples of what came out of the visioning exercise that Ms. Moore did for us. I won't bother to read all of this, but the foci were academics, athletics, lifestyle options and retail, outdoor attractions, green spaces, convention campus, and connectivity. All right? And these are some of the numbers that our analysis has produced. Now remember, this is all very preliminary because we've got a pretty detailed economic analysis underway. And once we get that back, we're going to enter in with you and with the county into a comprehensive master planning exercise for this entire site. But we believe we're going to produce at least 4,000 construction jobs and $438 million in economic impact during the construction period, and ongoing impact of 1,000 jobs and $100 million annually. And we hope to drive a minimum of an additional 25,000 visitors annually. And I think that's probably a low number.
I do too.
This is a preliminary schematic of what the site might look like. You can see that the hotel is up in the northwest corner. This is where a lot of the hotel people who have come to talk to us, and many of them have come to talk to the president and to the vice president for finance. This is where they seem to want to be. We would also envision the conference center being attached there too, and the Dedman School. You can see that we've got some mixed-use retail and entrepreneurial space down on the southwest corner. We envision the College of Business to go on the O'Connell site, which is the subject of the swap with you. Mm-hmm. And then we have committed to you to continue retail down Gaines on that side of that parcel. That has been a significant factor for you folks as we've moved along in this. All right, this is just another schematic to show you how these districts overlap. And you can see that we've got a commitment down there for Urban Outfitters on the corner of Gaines and Woodward. Retail will run all the way up Gaines along with housing, and we believe Madison is going to become a well-developed retail, housing, restaurant, bar strip along that area between the stadium and the Civic Center. This is our projection. Again, this is very preliminary. I think most of these numbers are low. We've had to go various places to assemble them. But I think a minimum of $260 million worth of development will go into this. Ultimately, it's probably going to run another $100 million over that, in my view. So this gives you some idea of the square footage of the facilities on a preliminary basis and the costs. And we're going to have to assemble this money from a variety of sources: private investment, donations to the university and from the boosters, hopefully PICO for certain parts of it. So it's going to be a labor. It's going to take a lot of work to put this together. But we believe that we have the potential, quite frankly, to light this area up if we do it right and we work with you and get it done. And here are some metrics for you. Again, we think we're going to drive at least $12.5 million in tax revenue. As I said, $100 million in recurring economic impact, internship and employment opportunities for students from all the institutions, opportunities to work with the other institutions and with local government, and tying a series of projects that have occurred over the last 5 or 6 years together into a unified district. And that's it. I will be happy to take questions, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I just got one question on the convention hotel, David. 85,000 square feet of convention facilities can you give us a description of what that's going to look, what it kind of looks like, and how many what capacity that would have?
Well, we're hoping that we'll be able to host at least 1,000 person convention, which we don't have the capacity to do right now. Right. We've been talking to your tourism staff and trying to figure out exactly what that would involve. We used some studies that have already been done to draw these space numbers and costs from. But we want to get at least into that mid-sized convention market.
That would hopefully attract at least statewide conventions, do you think?
Right. I mean, there are a lot of functions that university people, we found this by doing internal research, would like to hold in this city, which they leave to hold because we don't have big enough space. So,
Well, that's part of my concern too, David, is that we have a lot of associations headquartered here, a lot of them headquartered in the city of Tallahassee, and they go elsewhere to hold their statewide conventions. The Florida League of Cities, the Florida Association of Counties, Sheriff's Association, all of them. Will this facility, you think, believe will be able to house those kinds of conventions?
we're going to do our best. I mean, that's the goal, is to keep that stuff here and bring back stuff that we've lost that will drive those visits. And we're going to work with your tourism staff to try and size this so that we hit the right niche.
That's a lot of dollars that we're sending out. Thank you. Anybody else? Comments? Commissioner?
Mr. Coburn, I was looking at your map there, and that builds out pretty much of the parking lot. So is there a parking garage somewhere where you expect people to park who come to the Civic Center?
Well, as I said, that's a preliminary schematic, but there's going to have to be parking probably under some of that, and perhaps somewhere on the O'Connell site as well.
All right, and the other thing I wanted to know is the hotel going to be owned by FSU?
That's a question to be determined. In our view, the most likely result here will be a public-private partnership of some kind without us owning it, but we are not sure how the outcome.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
And this is difficult, I know, because there's so many variables, but under a best-case scenario, what would be the timetable on any of this?
Well, I think minimum 5 or 6 years. We're going to try and go first with the Hotel Convention Center,
Okay.
because logically that's going to drive a lot of the other development. But again, that'll play out after we get our analyses back and we work with you and the county on the master development plan. And it'll also depend on what our private partners who bid on this stuff think works best.
Well, I can't speak for the others, but that's a grand vision, and I want to thank you for bringing that and for having the foresight to look beyond, I think, probably what some of us thought you might do. This is a big project, and this will not only change that area, this, I think, changes the whole dynamics of our city overall and our county. So I want to thank you for taking it this far, and I'm certain that we'll be seeing you again, and at least from my standpoint, anything I can do to help, let me know.
Yes, sir, you'll probably see more of me than you want. I'm going to do my best to work with the manager and the staff and get this done. So,
Commissioner Maddox?
Thank you. And go Knowles.
Go Pasadena.
hopefully we're going to Pasadena.
Pasadena.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just by way of next steps, this item, I think we're trying to get scheduled before the CRA, either January or February on the land swap. And I believe at a later date, we may either invite Dr. Coburn, Chief of Staff Coburn, and Dr. Barron possibly to the staff retreat if there were other updates that might be of interest to the City Commission.
Thank you. We look forward to that. Commissioner Maddox?
Just before we break, Mr. Mayor, I presume you're going to
We're
break.
going to keep going a little bit longer.
Just real quick, I want to recognize another local elected official that slipped in the audience from the great county of Jackson to our west, Commissioner Jeremy Branch. Welcome, sir. Thank you for visiting Tallahassee. Yes, sir.
Okay, next item.
We are on citizen input on agenda items.
Mayor, we have about 10 citizen speakers, all on item 1302, which is the approval of the memorandum of agreement to renovate and lease the Cascades Park electric building.
Okay.
You had indicated
Is that what all these folks are about? Huh? If you all are here on that item, just raise your hand. Now, let me ask you, if whoever comes up first or second, if they say what you want to say, you don't have to repeat it for us. We get the picture, okay? We'll get to, but if you want to talk, we will not preclude you from speaking, okay? All right, but if they say what you want to say, just we'll recognize it, all right? First one.
Okay. Mayor, the first speaker on this item is Erwin Jackson. He'll be followed by Susan Campbell. I'll ask speakers to give their name and address for the record and remind or inform them that they'll have 3 minutes for their remarks. There'll be a light that turns green and then yellow, then red when their 3 minutes have expired.
Dr. Erwin Jackson, 1341 Jackson Bluff. Last week, City Commissioner Ziffer voted to implement a proposed ethics policy as written. Our community recognizes and appreciates his effort to return honesty and ethical behavior to this commission.
1302 is the electric building.
It's 1302, Mr. Jackson.
I'll be glad to tie this all together for you, Mr. Mayor, but if we can strike that interruption so I get my full 3 minutes, I appreciate it. An honest person has nothing to fear from an ethics policy. Other commissioners stated that they could not find the $200,000 to establish an ethics policy, an ethics office. Surprisingly, they were able to find $3 million to subsidize the development of a brew pub for secret investors. No money for an ethics officer, yet plenty of money for a brew pub. The city is spending $3 million to enter into a business agreement with a front man, Adam Corey, and other unnamed secret investors, and no one seems to see a problem. We need an ethics officer, I think, in the worst of ways. Last week, we learned that Scott Maddox had lobbied for and provided legal services to a convicted felon who stole $300 million
Ridiculous.
from disabled veterans, and not a single commissioner spoke. It's critical that every person who has a financial interest in this brew pub be fully disclosed before any agreement is signed. This brew pub is being subsidized by the city, and its operation must be open and transparent. Who knows? These silent investors may be Scott's business partners, and maybe that's where some of that $300 million went.
I'll say something.
However, I strongly recommend that the city not get involved in the operation and liability of a brew pub. I agree with Commissioner Ziffer that the location and neighborhood restrictions will certainly result in the failure of this proposed bar. Therefore, if the city continues in this foolhardy venture, they should take steps to minimize their losses in the future. Specifically, any agreement should state that Mr. Corey's $1.5 million worth of tables, chairs, and equipment will become the property of the city if his business fails. Finally, the city is charging approximately $2,500 in rent to Mr. Corey for 6,000 square feet of commercial building. The proposed rent should be at fair market value. The proposed rate is a fraction of the real market. In conclusion, the city should not be in the brew pub business and should not be subsidizing secret business partners. And I appreciate each of you.
Next speaker is Susan Campbell. She'll be followed by Robert Clay.
My name is Susan Campbell. I live at 1101 Cherokee Drive.
Ms. Campbell, pull that microphone down so we can hear you. Thank you.
And I want to address my remarks to the memorandum of agreement that was a part of the agenda today. My first point is that while it may have been legal to transfer the brew pub from the original 5 partners in the RFP to a single remaining member of that RFP, I don't understand why the withdrawal of the original partners wasn't accepted as a withdrawal, and why the process wasn't opened again to the whole community of possible interested parties, including Cascades Holdings. I think that same urgency may be reflected on the last page of the memorandum of agreement document, where one of the cons is that the building will not be put to an economic use in a most time-efficient manner. I see that as the same rush, and I see that statement in the MOA as an acknowledgement of that haste. The document that's shared with the public also says it includes hours of operation, but it doesn't. The only limiting hours are for outdoor entertainment. It doesn't specify hours of operation beyond that the business must comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, statutes, regulations, and ordinances. I don't understand why that's there. That's for every business that operates anywhere. Funds from the Community Redevelopment Association, which are a portion of the tax dollars that this community collected and then were collected from this community and then designated for redevelopment, are being used in this project, while Tactically and indirectly, we are ignored and overridden our input as an affected community. We don't feel that we're listened to. We don't understand either how a high-end restaurant, which was how it was originally pitched to us, or as a bar, constitutes community redevelopment. My fourth point is that it says in the document that it's $2.1 million in total project cost in Section 3, the history and facts, but indeed it's $3.6 million in total project costs. I find that discrepancy or ambiguous wording should cause a review of the intentions and accuracy of the whole document and maybe a resubmission with something more careful and accurately phrased. I find the award of a 20-year lease excessive, and I'm not reassured that the reassignment of the lease by the leasee would require the city's approval. To this point, I don't feel that the city has been the responsible landlord, or shown that it would be the responsible landlord that neighborhoods can rely on to protect the neighborhood's interests. And lastly, there are many destination sites and events in this park. We don't need another one, and government shouldn't attempt a risky venture like a restaurant, something that truly, if it's needed, belongs in the private sphere. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next, Robert Clay, followed by Bill Helmich.
My name is Robert Clay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I reside at 1303 Broome Street, which is about 320 yards from the electric building. I wholeheartedly support the appropriate and beneficial use of the historic electric building, including a restaurant with alcohol sales. I've been looking forward to such a restaurant and plan to frequent it frequently. However, I believe that the operational profile of such a restaurant should match the park operational profile and should not be in conflict with the adjoining neighborhood. I do not support the MOU or the MOA as currently written because it expressly permits uses and operating hours that are clearly inconsistent with the park and clearly inconsistent with the adjoining neighborhood. In fact, under the MOA, as I read it, we could be dealing with the same sort of noise that we've been dealing with from the ticketed events, except rather than 10 times a year, it's 365 times a year. I do not read, the way I read the agreement, that would be possible. We already have late night noise issues that we know in Midtown. I would suggest that it would be wiser for us to avoid this land use conflict and make sure that the use is compatible from the start. So I would urge you not to approve the MOA as written, but to fine tune the MOA so that it is consistent with the park and consistent with the adjoining neighborhood, and we get an establishment that works for everybody. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Bill Helmich, followed by Evan Power.
Hello, Bill Helmick, 303 Johns Drive, Tallahassee, Florida. And I want to tell you, 303 Johns Drive is pretty close to the Cascades Park. In fact, if I had an arm as good as ACC Player of the Year, Jameis Winston, I could probably hit the Cascades Park with a football. But I want to tell you, I'm proud of you all. I'm very proud of this memorandum, this agreement, this brew pub going into Cascades Park. I know, I haven't always agreed with the mayor and some of you commissioners, but this is a good deal. This is a public-private partnership. Allow them to open up, allow them to do business, and allow them to make money. This is the kind of work City of Tallahassee should be doing. I could not be more proud of all of you. Thank you very much, and I urge your support.
Evan Power, and then the next speaker will be Troy Kickenberg.
Evan Power, 2740 West Tharp Street. For the same reason he said, I've been here critical of the commission in the past, but I have to say that this is an idea that takes a piece of property that the city owned that wasn't generating revenue for the city. It enters into a public-private partnership where it lets an outside investor come in and bring in money to pump it into the economy to build out a complex, along with your help as good landlords to do it, to generate something that will generate sales tax revenue into the economy, will help further develop Cascades Park, which was the mission that we've all spent a lot of money developing Cascades Park, which will bring people down there to experience that 365 days a year. And so I too support the memorandum of understanding, and I would urge your support on it.
Next speaker.
Troy Kirkenberg, followed by Eric Bird.
Hello, everyone. I'm Troy Kirkenberg. I live at 2112 Great Oak Drive, nowhere near the brewery, but I am in support of it. I want to thank you guys for having us today and putting this item on the agenda today. I'm here to support the development of the brewery at Cascades Park, or the brew pub, the Edison. I feel that this project will help add value to the city and its ongoing goal of becoming a place to stay for our students after they graduate and from one of Tallahassee's universities. This unique project will not only provide jobs, but also bring history to the core of Tallahassee. Not only will we bring history to Tallahassee with the Edison inventions and memorabilia on display, but restoring history by recreating what was once a highlight of electric power in our country. As you said, Mayor, this will be a jewel in our community, and your support is needed. Thank you.
Next is Eric Byrd, and then Jason Ratio.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, honorable others, my name is Eric Byrd. I'm the Chief Inspiration Officer for the Tallahassee Hospitality Group. Upon your request, I will just keep it brief. I agree with what Mr. Kirkenberg and Mr. Powers have said. I've made my home in Tallahassee, my career here, and I'm excited about the growth of business and the potential that this has for Tallahassee.
You said you represent a group. What was the name of that?
Tallahassee Hospitality Group. I'm not representing them.
You're a part of it?
Yes, I'm a part of it.
Anybody else a part of it?
Yes, anybody that's associated with Tallahassee Hospitality Group, if you'd stand up, please, and be recognized.
I was wondering why we had a crowd, but thank you for being here. Okay. I'm assuming they're supporting your position.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Nobody out there objected, so I assume that's correct. Okay.
Jason Ratio, who will correct me if I mispronounced his name. And
It's Rescio, and thank you, Commissioners, for having me. Jason Rescio, address is 415 St. Francis Street, Tallahassee, Florida. Recently came back to my native city of Tallahassee after a 17-year hiatus. Was born here, over here at TMH, and graduated of Lincoln High School. In the past year, I've got a chance to meet Adam, and it just so happens that this endeavor is not too dissimilar from an establishment that I went through with the city of Atlanta called the Nook. It was a park, which is a public park establishment, private public establishment with the city. We work very closely with the city of Atlanta as it relates to noise ordinance. We've been profitable for the last 4 years since we opened our doors. And on top of that, we've become a destination for joggers, bikers, park enthusiasts, lobbyists, businessmen, businesswomen, to have a drink or something to eat. And, as somebody who's come to Tallahassee to do business, this is something that I think would work well, especially something that I've worked with, and I'd like to work with Adam as it relates to this endeavor. Adam is a great person. I've been able to meet him over the last year, and I think he has a solid foundation and vision for where Cascade Park and where the Cascade Park electrical building, specifically the restaurant, would go. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Next
speaker is Zain Zaoud, and then will be followed by Lloyd Childress.
You took the long way around.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zen Zayoud. Address is 1974 Bloomington Ave, nowhere located closely to to the Cascade Park. I'm here today representing for the approval of having the Edison Brewery / restaurant in Cascade Park. In today's economy, I believe that our beautiful city could greatly benefit from the addition of a new restaurant simply from the tax revenue created from any hospitality business stretching into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And also that I believe that relating to the sister model of 101, which currently employs 116 hardworking employees, it's easily foreseeable in the future that this brewery / restaurant could also easily employ another 100+ students or other members of our community that do not have jobs. What I believe is that a lot of students, since I did graduate from FSU already and stayed in this town, cannot find jobs to sustain future endeavors here, so they always move back home or move to a different city and continue a path from there. So I strongly advise that hopefully we can have this approved and keep this restaurant in this town. Thank you.
Next speaker, Mayor, is Lloyd Childries, followed by Vivian Young. And then we have one more speaker, and that will conclude the speakers on this item.
Good afternoon. My name is Lloyd Childry. I'm with Seminole IMG Sports Marketing. I know most of you up there. I've known you for quite a few years, so you probably know that if I'm going to come up and speak about something, I pretty much believe in it. About 2 years ago, I moved away, moved out to the Midwest. I won't tell you where I went to, but suffice I'm back, you know. When I went out there, the first thing I did is I went to the mayor, I went to the city council, and I talked about where I came from, Tallahassee. And what I told them is I was excited about the growth, the opportunity that Tallahassee had to provide, but it seemed to have fallen on deaf ears. They were not really interested in progress. They were more interested in status quo. That really didn't excite me. It took me about a week to understand I needed to come back to Tallahassee. So I tell you that story because I've shared it with a few of you. While I was gone for a year, my kids told me that the growth here was just fantastic. It was phenomenal. They're all in college, and now they all decided they want to stay here in Tallahassee. The reason they want to stay in Tallahassee is because I think the forward vision of this community is growth, it's progress, and it wants to keep its young professionals as well as its students here. I share that with you to say that when you have something like Cascade Park coming up, it kind of end caps an area that we at IMG use to enhance fan experience. During football season, we're busting at the seams here on Clayman Plaza. This gives us another venue over here to go to help increase that fan experience, which in turn puts heads in beds. It gives people a reason to come to Tallahassee for more than just football. And they may start coming in on Thursday. Right now we've got them Friday, Saturday, and they leave Sunday. It may keep them here Sunday, and then they leave again Monday. I think that personally it will be used. I know that IMG will look at it heavily because we're in the entertainment business. What we do is we create fan experiences in order to bring people to Tallahassee to watch Florida State football. So I am proud of the fact that we're going to have this done. Thank you very much.
Lloyd, I got a question first before you. We've had some issues with the surrounding neighborhoods. Are you all aware of the concerns that the surrounding neighbors have with regards to the events that may have there? And I want to know, you got to be sensitive to that. We want you to be sensitive to that because of what it is.
Absolutely sensitive to it. And to tell you that I know all of it, no, I'm not here to debate that. What I do know is that you can take any given venue and you can tailor the needs of that area to the needs of the surrounding area. And what I mean by that, if we're going to use that area for a venue to help support athletics or football, we wouldn't go in there with something real loud. We wouldn't go in there with something that would intentionally create an atmosphere that would upset the neighbors. But it is a venue that we would look at.
We want you to look at the venue if we decide to go forward with this thing, but we do also want anybody that's going to have an event there to be sensitive. We're going to look at it very carefully. We're going to look at what's happening there. We're going to look at the events. We're going to look at the noise. We're going to look at what's going on there because we do have some neighborhoods who are affected by this. Now, having said that, they could be affected positively or negatively. But we want to make sure that whoever utilizes that park be aware that the city will be concerned about that.
Absolutely. And as all of you all know, I was part of an industry that had concerns on both sides. And my concern was to try to make everybody happy. I've never overly pushed an issue, but I do believe in fairness. And I think that there can be, it could be a give and take there. And I'm certainly going to be working with everyone that I can to make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mayor, we have two speakers. We're also at the 5 o'clock time that I think was designated for the recognition. Do we want to go ahead and proceed with these last two?
No, we're going to get the last two.
We'll take these last two. Vivian Young, and she'll be followed by Mary Frederick, and those are the last two speakers I have.
All right.
My name is Vivian Young, and I live at 411 Oakland Avenue. I was asked at the last minute to read the Myers Park Neighborhood Association Board statement, and then I'd like to make a few of my own comments. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, the Board of Directors of the Myers Park Neighborhood Association is concerned that the proposed use of the city's historic electric building may allow the operation of a de facto bar until as late as 2 a.m. If that is the case, we anticipate residents being adversely affected in parts of the Myers Park Historic District. We also believe that the operation of a de facto bar in Cascades Park would be an incompatible and inappropriate use of the space. Such a use in a public park that operates late into the night and/or early morning poses obvious risks for the park as well as for the neighborhood adjoins it. For these reasons, we strongly oppose such use of the building. The neighborhood board supports the operation of an upscale, family-friendly local restaurant in Cascades Park that remains open no later than 11 p.m. on weekends and 10 p.m. on Saturday through Thursday, and has no amplified outdoor entertainment that spills intrusively into the neighborhood. Respectfully, Kevin Hadaway, President, Myers Park Neighborhood Association. I'd like to take just whatever's left in terms of my own comments. I want to say that I have nothing personally against 101 or the operation of a restaurant in the building. What I have concerns about is operation of such a facility late into the evening, into the early hours of the morning. I live 400 feet. We're not talking yards here, we're talking 400 feet from the electric building. There are single-family residential homes that are 300 feet from the electric building. And I ask any of you if you would like that close to your residence. I'd like to say that we're zoned single-family residential, and that was our expectation when we moved into the area. We've been shown pictures of mixed-use development on Monroe Street. The next thing that happens is a motorcycle repair shop is approved. We're told about an amphitheater that's going to be held for Shakespeare in the Park and Cloggers. The next thing we know, it's a regional facility. Now we're told last year about a dinner/bike shop in the restaurant building. Now it's going to be a de facto bar that could be open as late as 2 in the morning. It's just a constant onslaught that we're very upset about in our neighborhood. I don't feel that it's appropriate to have so few parameters in the agreement. I'm very concerned that it's up to the discretion of the city manager to decide if this is an appropriate operation. There's no call for public input, and I have to say that the public input process for all of Cascades, I think, has been abysmal, and this continues the trend. I hate to be the Grinch that comes up all the time. I really supported Cascades from the very beginning, was excited about it. And I just want to say that I really ask you to think about the neighbors and the residents who are 300 to 400 feet away, many of whom have young children and/or health issues. Thank you. Goodbye.
The final speaker, Mr. Mayor, is Mary Frederick.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Mary Frederick. I live at 805 Circle Drive, and I'm the president of Woodland Drive's Neighborhood Association. And I represent close to 500 homes that are very close to Cascades Park. The board asked me to make the statement that we can support a restaurant and bar in the electrical building at Cascades Park, providing it closes at 11 o'clock p.m. or earlier. Simple as that.
You have okay. Yeah, no questions really. Thank you very much for your comments. We're going to break.
I think we're
going to break.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, if I could, we have two things real quick they have to leave. One, if I could, this guest has to leave, just get her on the camera shot. If you could walk her right here in front. This is...
walk him up there to Mr. Commissioner
This is Teddy.
Right here, right across the diagram.
This is Teddy. Everybody can see Teddy. Teddy is a blue and white Chow Chow Chinese Shar-Pei mix. Came into the shelter as a stray on 11/22. He's about 4 years old. He's neutered, gentle on a leash. He's had all his vaccines, and his adoption fee is $100. Anyone who adopts Teddy, I will pay the adoption fee. So I want to give Teddy his time in the spotlight. And also, real quick, before we go on break, Mr. Mayor, I want to recognize my friend Nestor, who's in the audience. Nestor Mendez. Nestor came here very recently from Cuba, and he has assimilated very well. He's in school here in Leon County, and this is his first city commission meeting he's seen government at work in America. So we're so glad to have him here.
All right. For those of you who care to join us, we're going to walk right over to Clayman Plaza for dedication to Commissioner Steve Meisberg, and then we'll come back here probably no later than 6 o'clock. Okay, we're in recess. What next item you think is appropriate for us to address?
It looks like, Mr. Mayor, we have a lot of people here on the item number 13.02. I'm sure they would appreciate it if we take that item next.
You want to take that one? Okay, we're on 1302. Would you introduce it for us, please?
Yes, I will. Commissioners, this is an item requesting your consideration of an agreement to renovate and lease the historic electric building in Cascades Park. You previously approved funding for the project and a proposal from Liquor Loft LLC, DBA Proof Brewing Company, to renovate and lease the facility for a proposed restaurant. Proof has assigned their proposal rights to Cascades Holdings, and you are aware of that. We've talked about previously a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement, and that will be coming back to you. And this is actually your first real vote on a memorandum of understanding. The details of the memorandum of understanding pretty much speak for themselves in terms of the kinds of issues that this commission has expressed concern about, some of the issues that have come forward from various members of the community. Obviously, it's already been stated that we are wanting to have a facility that is consistent with the values of the community, and that this community can live with as well. So with that being said, I would like to, Lou, did you want to make any comments about the actual document itself?
I'll be glad to answer any questions, but otherwise I think it's pretty straightforward. It gives us a number of places as we go forward to stop and review and be satisfied with the drawings and the construction documents and the lease documents. So I think it sets out an opportunity for us to be involved to make sure the end product is what the city thinks is in the citizens' best interest.
Okay, Commissioners, is there, anybody want to make a motion, or?
Yeah, can I just, before doing that, just make a clarification? It had previously been asked whether or not I had a conflict based off the fact that one of the principles involved is my volunteer campaign treasurer. I was even asked, do you pay your campaign treasurer? I was like, not in my lifetime. I don't think so, not for those roles. But I did want to, again, throw it to the city attorney for any legal clarification or guidance that he may want to offer at this time.
The first time this item relating to this project was on, I told you, Commissioner, that I did not, in my opinion, think you had a conflict of interest. That as a volunteer for you in a campaign and subsequently as a developer, that any developer here has First Amendment rights, and that I did not see any conflict in you voting on this matter.
I appreciate that. And just, I've known Adam since we were in college. He was at Florida Gulf Coast, and I was a student government leader at Florida A&M University. And pleased to have you as an entrepreneur in our city. And further, historically, when the decision was made by this city commission to preserve the electric utility building, which was, my guess would be 7 years ago or so.
Okay,
Mark Muschin and Debbie Lightsey, who we just saw across the street, really led the effort trying to convince the entire commission of the value of trying to preserve that facility. And even if I didn't see even though I didn't see the full wisdom in maybe preserving that facility then, I absolutely understand where we are now. And I'm looking forward to our discussion about a process for moving forward. Do we expect Commissioner Miller to come back?
Yeah, we do.
I'm sure she's on her way.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Ziffer.
Before my comments, I just want to make this very clear, because Adam, you and I have known each other for a number of years, I have the greatest respect for not only you personally, but also what you've done at your restaurant. My comments have no indication whatsoever of the great things you've done there, nor, quite frankly, your enthusiasm for what you're trying to do at Cascades Park. I have real difficulty with us, I think, based upon my conversations I've had with a lot of people, in addition to just my own experience having an advertising agency for a number of years and working with restaurants. I feel like we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and actually over time that peg's gotten a lot bigger and the hole's gotten a lot smaller. The electric building is clearly historic. It's clearly something we want to save. It's obviously in a prime location in the park, but it's not easy to get to. It's just not. And while it has some parking for a restaurant, lounge, bar, whatever you want to call it, to be successful, I think it needs to have more parking. And it's a standalone. And if you look at most restaurants, they go in areas where there are other restaurants or there are other retailers or there are other things going on of a similar nature, because people go to those places because they know they can eat at multiple places or do multiple things. And this does not have that. I think the hours of operation can be resolved, and I appreciate your willingness to work with the city manager. But my problem with that is, by doing that, you actually put yourself in an even more disadvantaged position, because by restricting your hours, you're limiting, quite frankly, the areas where I think you probably can make more money. And the problem with that is, then it is a real conflict for the neighborhood, which I do have sympathy for them. I have been on the opposite end when it comes to the amphitheater and the shows, but I got to tell you, I do have concerns with late night in their neighborhood 7 days a week. I get a feeling, and I don't know this, but it seems to me that we're trying to clearly have something happen there, and I'm not convinced that we couldn't go ahead and move forward and make some of the improvements to the building and take a step back. Give us some time, figure out once the park opens, who goes there? What happens there? What's going to be popular there? So that we can have the right vendor, if it even is a commercial operation that goes in there, can be successful. And the other thing is, I'm not confident nor comfortable with the city really going into business, being a business. I don't think it's appropriate. I know what public-private partnerships is, but this is far greater. And I have the greatest confidence in our city manager to be able to follow through and work out a contract, but quite frankly, it puts our city manager in a position where she's also become almost a partner in this in determining hours and security and all sorts of other things. I'm going to vote against this. I think if we do this, let's get it right. I've looked at the numbers. I've had other people look at the numbers, and while I think, and as I said earlier, I have the greatest confidence that you are a very good restaurateur, I don't think those numbers can be met because of those elements and comments that I made earlier. I think we should get this right. I don't want to be in a position where a year from now we're asked to either make more concessions or put more money on the table. I don't want to do that, so I'm voting against this. But as I said, I have the greatest confidence in you, sir.
Wait a minute, we're going to get everybody. Commissioner Gillum's next. Commissioner Gillum?
Sure. Thank you. Just one thing I would take issue with is this idea that we are getting in the restaurant business. When we made the decision to buy that piece of property, we made that decision because we knew we were going to be pumping some $20+ million into that park, and we wanted to be able to have some control over what eventually ended up happening there. After such a major public investment, we didn't want a chance, after saving that building, putting it up for anyone, frankly, to come in and purchase it off of us and put a incompatible, non-conforming, conflicting, non-supportive use into the park. That decision was made, again, 7 years ago when we decided to save the electric utility building that we wanted to have ownership of what went next. We then went out to a public process for anyone who had any ideas whatsoever. It was at the first go-round, it was open for anyone's suggestions about what they would like to bring into Cascades Park that would support our vision of really making Cascades Park a destination place where people would choose, families, individuals would choose to go. We got nothing. We then go out again, and I'll tell you, I actually had a conversation with someone. I had a conversation with Mike Schmidt, who owns what we now know as The Egg. And I went to Mike, and I knew Mike was interested, and I hope he doesn't mind me disclosing this, but I went to him, and I knew he was in the interest of expanding his franchise. And I said, Cascades Park will be a great place. Well, and he had thought about it and basically said, I just opened a location at the Gray Building, not really sure that we can expand. Only person I talked to. But nonetheless, in my head, I was thinking, how do we get some energy? How do we get some folks down here making the decision to get involved in Cascades Park? We then got two responses. One was basically a proposal to stabilize the facility because they didn't have a proposal for a full-on concept at the time, and I know the respondent who's a supporter. And the second one was the idea for a brew pub, of which this commission, minus you, Commissioner Maddox, who was not here, was wild about. We thought it was a great idea at that time. We thought it was a good use. We thought it would bring people into the park. We felt it would be create a destination place in an area that we were trying to revitalize. We thought it would signal the progress that we were trying to move Tallahassee in the direction of. And I think most of us knew even at that time, because of some of the isolation of that location, that it was going to be a tough haul. And that's why we approved such incentives to recruit someone into that facility. Where we are right now is we still own the building on behalf of the taxpayers. We are still making the investment in the building that we knew we would make 7 years ago, because the price item that was associated with that agenda item suggested that we would have to put several million into stabilizing that building and returning it to a stage where it can be occupied and then made available for a use. The difference is now we have a private entity who has come to the table with their own set of resources, who will invest those resources to customize the inside of that facility so that it meets the needs of a restaurant, a nice restaurant, that will serve alcohol. And we accepted it. And this, which doesn't make us co-partners, with all due respect, Adam. It doesn't make us investors, with all due respect. Really doesn't even make us partners in the success of your venture. By all means, I want it to be successful, but we are landlords. We expect that building to bring in revenue. We expect that building to meet its obligation on its rent over the long term of the lease. We would expect you to perform just as we would for anyone else who sits in our owner-occupied, taxpayer-occupied facilities, which there are many. What is interesting about this is that we have put a bar on this and this agreement that is in many cases higher than what we have expected on similar deals that we created. Take Gain Street, for instance, where we have pumped millions. And I've heard from some of the folks on Gain Street in the apartment business who say, you are now subsidizing my competitor. Mm-hmm. But we had a bigger community vision, and we can debate the merits of whether those were the right decisions. We have done that on the Alliance Center, which is in mixed use, subways on the bottom, office space above. We've done that on the hotel complex down the street. We've done that with the Walgreens. There are many examples that we can go through where we did not have this same level of intensity of questions or even the co-branding of a co-ownership or partnership or restaurant business or Walgreens business or apartment business, all of which we have helped facilitate. Yet we didn't have those same broad descriptions of our involvement in there. We saw that our involvement as an incentive for job creation and to fulfill a greater, bigger public mission. And that's how I view this project. And I do think it's unfortunate that we have taken what has been a very thoughtful process of public investment around Cascades Park, that we have taken what I think it should be applauded, a private business interest coming into an unproven location. I'm not in the restaurant business, but I can only imagine that this will be a tall and difficult feat. You are creating constituency in an area and in a place where, frankly, there is none right now, and that's risky. That being said, I still expect you to pay your rent on time for all 20 years of the lease that it exists. And I also expect that it's going to hopefully be wildly successful so long as the park is wildly successful. Difficult, hard, still important for it to succeed in order for us to fulfill our mission and our vision for Cascades Park. So I don't want to filibuster, this point, but we're landlords. We are landlords with a higher community interest, obviously, and we have to do what we can to protect ourselves against I think, any nuisance that can be spun off. And I do believe, Madam Manager, that you all put together an agreement that will help to facilitate that protection on behalf of the citizens. But that's kind of the limits, and that we ought to do everything that we can to invest in the park to make the park a success. And assuming this goes forward, hopefully, we'll see that the business concept will be successful and hugely beneficial for attracting the type of people we want to live, work, and play in our city for the long term.
Commissioner Maddox? I'm going right down the line, if you don't mind.
And I'm at the end now.
No, I'm going to be at the, you're at the end. That ends now. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I inherited this process. So when I left, I voted and pushed for Cascades Park. And when I came back, it had an amphitheater. And we already made the decision to preserve that building and had an RFP process. So I've gotten on the tail end of this. I want to thank the neighborhood for coming forward. I've known a lot of those people for a long time for your input. And Mr. Carswell, Mr. Bedard for theirs, because I've known them an awful long time and had a lot of similar type meetings like this with them over a 20-year period. I look at this, so I can't remake the decision on a band shell or a amphitheater. I can't remake the decision on preserving the building. So for me, number one, I want to make sure that it's not something that is too onerous on the neighborhood. And I'm comfortable in the language that is there, that we can check it in 90 days in the agreement, and if there's a problem, we can come back and address it. So there is a mechanism there to change something if there's a problem. So that was my first concern. The second concern is the business case. You're absolutely right, Commissioner. Commissioner Gillum, the things that I've heard on the other side are presupposing that I'm in the restaurant business. I don't wish to be in the restaurant business, and I certainly don't think it's a place of the city of Tallahassee to be in the restaurant business. So if some think that this business may not make it for a myriad of reasons, whether it be licensing or parking or demographic appeal or geographical location, I don't care about any of that, right? What I care about is we got a partner that's going to pay half of what the taxpayers would have to pay to improve the facility. And if they go out of business, I hope you don't. I don't want to put any bad, aura on you. But if you do, that inures to the benefit of the taxpayers. And you've already made the decision not to knock the building down, and you've already put money into the building. So this only helps the taxpayers. So if things happen, they change in the park, where retail is more appropriate on the other end of the park, we can have conversations with the folks that are before us tonight to moving to that end of the park. If for one reason or another they fumble and it's no longer a use that works there, we have an improved building that we can go on to perhaps a use that will. But I don't see the downside from a business perspective from where we are today to approve the agreement before us.
Commissioner Miller.
This has certainly been an item that has, as you know, I care a great deal about from the beginning. And one of the things that I have as part of my character is that I just love old buildings. And I hate to see them come down. I like to see, it's part of that reuse and recycle way of looking at life. In this particular case, this particular building is a major part of Tallahassee's history. It was the beginning of our electric utility, or at least our first electric generating plant. And but not only that, that whole entire area is where folks met to determine this is going to be the capital. That's where the DeSoto site is. It's where the Martin House is. The entire, within a half-mile radius, there's so much history there, and I think that all of us, it's one of the major attributes that this town has to offer other people who come here to visit us. That's why I believe in Cascades Park. But this is a piece of Cascades Park. We had a Superfund site. We had a hulking building. I even had a friend describe going to ball games in Centennial Field when he was a kid. Ball games in Centennial Field, and in the background there was this big hulking building. Well, when we began to renovate the park, all the brush was cleared, and lo and behold, it was there for everybody to see, and it was easy to see that we had to do something about it. As far as I was concerned, tearing it down was not an option. So as a commission, we asked our staff to investigate and figure out what the best use was. As a commission, we made the decision that the best use was going to be exactly the path we've gone on. As a commission, we went out and asked for a request for proposal, and in a fair, open process, you guys won the day. Now, and the neighborhood has legitimate concerns. I mean, they're worried about the sound, they're worried about the traffic, they're worried about all these things. They've been excellent at bringing those to us, helping us determine what the appropriate levels of use are. And as you know, I still have a great deal of concern about the 2 o'clock hour. I want to make sure people understand that hours of operation are not part of this MOU. That is going to be part of a lease when we get to that point, and there's going to be a lot more detail about operation in that lease, and the conversations of that have already started. This has not been a fly-by-night fast decision. We made the decision to go this route on the use of this building to A, save it, B, look for a restaurant, over 2 years ago. It's not as though we just thought of this yesterday. Here we are looking at, this is the next stage, which is before us right now. I think we can continue to banter back and forth about the hours. But the only other thing that I have a concern about is, and I don't really care. It's up to the commission whether the manager needs to come back to us when she has recommendations about changes that need to be made or not. I trust this manager. Who knows who will follow in her footsteps, certainly unless Anita's planning on staying for 20 years, which I don't think, I thought I understood that she didn't really want to do that. So there will be a new manager, there will be new commissioners, and I just want to make sure that that your paragraph B here on page 5 of 7, where there's this continued dialogue where you understand, and I will say, this is landlord in pocket of the business, tenant, way deeper than any other example, but this is basically an experimental situation at this time. I think you all understand that. And I think it's almost like being a teenager and you're out there on probation just to see how you behave. So having talked to you, I feel sure that you feel that pressure too. I would like to say that we had one of the neighbors bring up whether it's a $2.1 million project or it's a $3.5 million or $6 million project. Well, it's a public-private partnership. $2.1 million in public money to renovate a historic building that is on the National Register of Historic Places. Secondarily, a $1.5 million investment from the private sector. So this is truly what I would call a public-private investment. I want to ask some questions, though, about the timeline, because I would like for renovation on this building to start yesterday. So I'd like to ask, and I believe Roxanne Manning might be the proper person to ask.
Let's get to that after we get through.
All right. Well, I want to hear when are you going to break ground and begin to renovate the exterior of that building? If that has to be decoupled from this particular effort to get it started now, then I want to start it as soon as possible, because my big concern is that we're going to open the park and there's going to be a big construction zone right in the center of the park. So how are we going to solve that problem? Other than that, if I think of another question, let's talk about hours of operation.
We'll get the answer to that question at some point in time, but let's complete the commissioner's comments at this point in time. Well, I guess I'm maybe not last, but I'm next anyway. You know, and I'm going to take my time in saying this. This is obviously one of those decisions that can be difficult or it can be very easy depending on, you know, how you look at the whole thing. You know, Tallahassee has long been known as, well, not any longer, but at one time was known as a company town. We had government, we had the universities, we had all these, and we didn't attract the kinds of private sector businesses that would make this town grow and be a better place. And only about, I guess, when Jeb Bush told us that he's going to downsize and privatize state government, did we get a wake-up call that we've got to start seeking private sector businesses, and we've got to start attracting those kinds of businesses so we can keep our citizens employed. And we embarked on that, and we've done a fairly good job. Now we got to do things to keep them here. You know, we've put in the infrastructures, we've done a lot of good work, and we've attracted some businesses, and we're moving in a direction where we're going to be business friendly, and that's what I want us to be, business friendly. I see this as one of those opportunities for us to grow progressively in this city. I really do. We've got individuals who are willing to invest in the city of Tallahassee now, because we have created something here, and I don't want to lose that creativity. We've created something here in the city of Tallahassee that's really, truly meaningful, and the progress has been, I mean, astronomical in many respects. If you look at Gaines Street, you look at Midtown, you look at Market District, you look at all of these places, 10 years ago they weren't there. Claimant Plaza and what we have on it, they weren't there. But there were some of us, some had vision that we could do and do better in this city. And I think that's what we're doing. Now, in my mind, there's only one reason why we ought not approve this project. Just one. The neighborhood, the noise, and possibly the incompatibility. I don't see any reason. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not going to sit up here and make business decisions for these folks. They've come up with a business plan. I'm not going to do those things. I'm not in that, as the other commissioner says, I'm not a restaurateur. You're going to take the risk. We just want you to pay the rent, over time. And we're not in the business of being a restaurant. I don't see how anybody can say. We are a landlord to a number of entities in this community. And that doesn't make us a partner with them. That just means we're doing a prudent thing in buildings that we have and land that we have and leasing them out or renting them out so we can get the revenues associated with it. So the idea that we are somehow a partner with this venture is just, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And the idea of, Commissioner, in all due respect, the idea of give us some time to get it right, I take that to mean that, no, let's not do this project at the brew pub. So we're going to delay that and try and figure out what we should do. And we're trying to open this park. We've been trying to open this park since March. We're trying to open this park, and now we want to delay. You're suggesting that we delay.
That's not what I said, Mayor.
Give us some time. Get it right. I wrote it down, Commissioner. I'm not
For
trying
the interior.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm just saying we ought not, and I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate it, but we ought not delay this any longer. We need to get these things done and move on with it. Now, having said that as well, I can empathize and sympathize with the neighbors. I can. And I would tell you, as I've told other individuals, keep on pushing us to make sure, as we do this project, make sure it is as compatible with you as you possibly can. It may never be, I understand that, but keep on talking to us and let us know what your concerns are, and we can make adjustments. We'll try and make adjustments to satisfy you. I don't know if we can, but we will certainly try and do that. So progress is difficult sometimes. Change is difficult. But we've got to be progressive, and we've got to understand that change is going to come. The only constant is change. That's the only constant is change. So I think this is a good public-private partnership initiative. I think we need to go forward with it, but we need to be sensitive to our neighbors and their concerns. So with that, if anybody else has any, Commissioner Ziffer.
Well, because clearly I'm going to be going down here in a 1-4 vote, but I just want to point out that the first RFP no one responded to. Because quite frankly, I think there are a lot of concerns with people that operate businesses that from a financial standpoint, it would be difficult to operate a business. The second RFP had 2 respondents, just 2. If this is such a great place to run a restaurant, why would only 2 people, of which one really wouldn't even tell us what he was doing, respond? The third thing is we are landlords. And I got to tell you, as a landlord, if I owned a shopping center, because I've talked to people in this business too, they would look at whether they think this is going to be a successful enterprise. Because if no landlord wants someone to fail that's in their shopping center or in their building. So I actually disagree. I think as landlords, it's our responsibility. Quite frankly, and Adam, you and I had this conversation. I don't want you to lose money. I don't. I don't want this city to have a building with a closed restaurant. I think if anybody can do it, you can. I just don't think, after doing a lot more due diligence, that it can make it. Mayor, my suggestion is that we move forward with renovations that improve the building to the point where we can then decide, once we see how the park is, who might be a good fit. I'm trying to be responsible, and I understand your positions, and I understand everything you're saying, but I'm just coming from a different place, and with that, those are my thoughts.
I apologize. I may have misunderstood you, but what I heard was, and I may have been wrong, and I apologize, that this was going to be delayed. This could be delayed further, and
then you're
I
wrong.
understand.
Okay.
Okay.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor.
Briefly.
I just want to clarify again that we're not loaning money to a business. We're not doing it. I've seen some of those comments that have floated around that we're loaning money to a business, that we're becoming partners with a business. We're not doing that. We're improving a building and having a lease with a tenant. So I want to make sure that that's clarified.
We go to Commissioner, mind if I go to Commissioner Miller?
I don't mind.
Commissioner Miller?
Well, I just want to say, there are numerous times in this MOU where it basically says both sides can walk away, both sides can, if this benchmark is not met, both sides can terminate. If this benchmark is not met, both sides can terminate. There's one and that was my problem with the timeline, because what I wanted to know is, oh, you mean we're waiting 90 days plus 30 days plus whenever to start renovation, and hopefully that's not a no. I mean, it is a no. But basically, the first 90 days, there's 30 days later, there's another time. Another 30 days later. I mean, they're at each stage in the game, when more information comes forward and more evaluation is done on the part of our staff, yet again, there will be a point where do we go forward or not? So I don't feel like we're going forward with no evaluation at this point. Just wanted to clarify that. The way I read this, that's how I read it.
Commissioner Miller, let me just say that Wayne just said to me that he and Roxanne and Dee have talked about it, and they think they can decouple a few things to get it moving faster.
Commissioner.
Can we start Monday?
Well, and then Commissioner Miller, and then we're going to get your timeline. Can y'all give a timeline? Somebody?
That's what yeah.
That's what she just did.
He's going to do it.
Commissioner.
Yeah, well, no, my only advice, if I could offer any, I know you held a opportunity for folks to come taste the food and that sort of thing. A lot of this is also about being a good neighbor. Someone from the neighborhood pointed out earlier that they really feel dumped on in a lot of ways, and the fact that there's been so much happening there. And the Edison sort of just flows, I think, in the traffic of all that's going on. I think you also heard from the neighbors, a number of them, and also from the ones that attended your event. I didn't go, but I did hear from some of them who indicated they plan on patronizing, supporting, but they want to make sure you're a good neighbor. And that you're a good friend to them. And what at least I would suggest folks take comfort in knowing is you've got people who live in the neighborhood, who live in this community, who have a responsibility to be responsive. Why? Because you've got several enterprises that if you go bad here, it'll show up in other places. I think the same is probably true in Scott Coswell's place. I'll name him, I know he's here. And the fact that the Moon exists in a neighborhood, in a community, I know at the early point there were issues. But because he's a neighbor, literally a neighbor, behind his establishment, he had to make adjustment and work with them. And over time, I think some trust was built. And so I think that's a good model of I think, being a good neighbor and a good friend. And there's a lot of other, I think stuff that's just sort of being combined into here. My last point is I did get a call today from I won't name him, but he's a pretty successful local business guy. A little older, and his comment to me was, Andrew, if I was that guy's age, I'd be making this investment, which I thought was interesting, but you really are having to pick up a new torch of entrepreneurship, and I hope we see more of it happen in the city.
Call a question.
I have a quick question for staff, just one quick question.
Sure.
Have we brought in any outside restaurateurs to look at the pro forma that was presented?
Brought in any?
Outside restaurateur. I'm just curious.
You mean
We're not in the business of doing this, so I'm just curious if we brought any.
To actually look at the proposal that was submitted to us?
Since this is clearly going to pass, I would suggest that we bring in some outside restaurateurs additionally, just to take a look.
Okay, let me
Because I
ask
think it's
Roxanne.
important.
Hi, Commissioners. When they submitted the initial proposal, we worked with Dr. Bond of the Hospitality School at FSU. We worked with several local restaurateurs and one local businessman, and let them look at the proposal and talk about whether or not it would work.
I know, I'm just talking about the recent numbers that were presented just this week.
No, those I have not seen.
Thank
But we could certainly take another look at those. We did do an in-house pro forma looking at other restaurants, some owned by other local other local governments, to determine whether or not we thought the projections were reasonable and doable as well. We did quite a lot of analysis on the front end of this.
Thank you for that.
We have a motion and a second.
What happened to my timeline?
Okay, you want it before you vote?
Just
I want to make sure
briefly,
you
I want to
can
know
really,
when we're going to start.
really have enough time to know what you can decouple and what you can't.
Commissioners, I think in talking with a local architect here in town, certainly the plan that will move forward from the restaurateur to develop the space means everything as far as what will be done on the exterior part of the building. Without a doubt, we can decouple the cleaning of the walls exterior. There's vines on it, there's graffiti, we can remove all that. We can clean a lot of the dirty stuff on the building. We can start looking at doing some of the brick repair work that needs to be done. There's some pointing that needs to be done on the facility. Some of that may have to go through a procurement process, to be quite honest. And so that Roxanne, my staff, as well as Mark, we have a meeting scheduled Friday already to start looking at what we can move forward with quickly. Regarding the windows replacement, it is not going to be possible because of the architectural integrity of the previous windows. If we go back and put in those large windows to make it before the park opening in March. So I don't want an unrealistic expectation that you'll see the big pretty windows open by March. But what we can do is look at some temporary treatment of the windows until such time as we're ready to move forward with the final design of the project.
Is that helpful, Commissioner Miller?
I would like for it to happen a little faster than that, but.
Like Monday, right?
I mean, believe me, I've been waiting for this for like almost 3 years, and so, yeah, I'm ready for this to go forward.
We're all somewhat impatient, Commissioner Miller, and we feel you. We really do. Any
Plus,
other?
we've all been waiting for the park to open too, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've all been waiting, and I don't want any more delays. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, and that motion is to approve the memorandum of agreement with Liquor Law LLC, DBA Proof Brewing Company. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
It passes with one negative vote. Commissioner Ziffer. Thank you very much. Next item.
And Mr. Mayor, we need to go back to consent. And
Move
we
consent.
need to,
Second.
we need to take item number 9.4 off of consent before we.
Move consent as amended.
Second.
As amended, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Passes. We're now on 9.04, I assume.
No, we have to hold that until we do 13.01.
Right.
Oh, you're
And we
right.
are on 13.01 right now.
Gotcha.
And
Get it straight.
Commissioners, on June 27th of 2012, the City Commission approved a revised concurrency agreement for Phase 2 of the Summit East subdivision that extended interim development timeframes by 1 year, providing that full infrastructure development was required by April 30th of 2014 in order to create pad-ready development lots. Representatives for the project have recently submitted a request to modify that interim milestone for the development to extend it by 8 additional months to December 31st, 2014, and to revise the proposed land uses of the project to add a shipping distribution center, reduce the office square footage, and reduce the retail square footage. This is the agreement that you have before you, and Keith Burnsett is here to answer any questions you might have on this item.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? We got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
It passes
Aye.
unanimously. Next item
The
is
next item would be, go ahead.
9.04.
Yes.
Oh, I got that one right.
And Commissioners, that is the approval of subdivision plat Summit East Phase 3C. And that is consistent with the item you just approved.
Move it.
Move the item.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. For those of you out there, we've been thoroughly briefed on this
Right.
by the staff, so don't think we're not, don't understand what's going on, but this is a good project, and when you see it, when you see the final finished product, everybody's going to applaud. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Next item.
The next item is 13.03, National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, Wells Fargo Foundation, $25,000 grant for the Gain Street Art Alley project. And Commissioners, the transformation of the Gain Street Art Alley into a functional and attractive pedestrian facility is a vision shared by business and property owners, university and student collaborators, and of course, the City of Tallahassee. In furtherance of this effort, EPER secured a grant of $25,000 from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation / Wells Fargo Foundation to improve the alley. The grant will be matched by the city, and other funding will be obtained from the CRA, the Tree Bank, TAP, and community supporters to help complete the project. The project has generated a lot of excitement among the supporters, and already local businesses are offering their support to the project. Wood Partners and Kimley Horn have contributed a significant amount of pro bono work in designing the improvements. I know that Commissioner Ziffer has been involved in this and may want to make a few comments on this as well, but Cynthia, do you need to make a brief presentation?
Yes, Cynthia, I think it'd be a good idea to make a brief presentation because the other commissioners may not have. Did you go briefly?
I briefed everyone, but I'd just like to make comments to introduce some of the people who have
Sure.
been volunteering their time, as well as, I think it'd be good for you to see just the design of the.
I think that'd be appropriate. If I can just make a quick comment, because they were, a couple of representatives from Wells Fargo were here earlier. They had to leave because they didn't understand that there was going to be a break. They recognized this project as something very special, and they were very pleased to be able to write that $25,000 check. And so I wanted to recognize Wells Fargo for stepping up and doing that, because without the $25,000, clearly the whole project would have been in jeopardy. I think once the commission sees what is going to happen here, which is just a fabulous, fabulous walkway between two road systems, I think we all, maybe in a future date, have them back and thank them since they had to leave. But
Absolutely. I've had an opportunity. This came before our target issue committee. What was it, yesterday or the day before? When was it? Today?
It was today.
I tell you. And we've been looking at this for a while, and the concept and the idea, I didn't know this thing was there. And for a long time, and then I went down and looked at it and said, wow, this is really something. The plans that the staff has for this are just, I mean, this is going to be transformational. And I told them this is a Peter Kajiyama project. And we need to, I told John Baker he needs to contact Peter and let him know what we're doing here, because this is definitely within his realm of what he likes to do. And maybe we can also submit it at some point in time, because this is award-winning kind of stuff here. But anyway, it really is a good project. Cynthia, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'll just make my brief comments
Please.
to introduce those who are with us, so that you can actually get a chance to see the project. We do believe it's a really small area, but an opportunity to really make an impact in that area. We have collaborated with, so I'll skip through my slides. We've collaborated with a number of organizations and citizens of the community. Commissioner Ziffer mentioned Wells Fargo. We're very, very pleased with their support. Before you is a full list of supporters as well that we've coordinated with, just trying to get some energy around the project and see if there was some interest. And we have found that there is very significant interest. Many of you may be familiar with our professor from Florida State, Paul Rotowski. Were you waiting? Paul Wade.
Hi, Professor.
Unbeknownst to him, we call him the alley keeper. For the past 4 years or so, he and his art students have taken responsibility for that area and made some changes down there. And we like to build upon what they've done there. The students call themselves a group there, the alley sprouts. You may have heard that term as well. Also, we have with us, who's done quite a bit of work, Representatives Patrice Hanalock. I think I got that right. She works with Wood Plus Partners. David Malcolm, he's left the area. He has had another job opportunity. We'll be okay, Commissioner Ziffer. He left us in
I've known Dave for a long time.
He left us in very capable hands. She'll be the one doing the presentation today. And when you see the work that they've done, you'll understand the magnitude of what they've volunteered so far for the project. We also have with us today Elisa Weatherall. She's with Kimley Horn. She's also volunteering her engineering expertise as it relates to stormwater in the alley. And then one other component of the project that was very important was the community involvement and engagement, to see what people thought about that area, what they liked to see, what was needed. A professor who couldn't be here today from the School of Urban and Regional Planning, and his students did quite a bit of research, looked at art alleys across the country and some internationally, held a community meeting, received some feedback from that, and they did that all on their own time. So we're very thankful to them as well. With that, you know where the alley is, but for the public, it's low. It connects Gaines Street and All Saints Street. And then I'll bring up just so you can see the design. Some of the kinds of things we're trying to address are the exposed tree roots, uneven pathways, access areas for people, making it more usable, dealing with some of the stormwater issues and then erosion issues. And if you'll come up and go over the design, I think that's what they're interested in.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you? As she mentioned, I'm Patrice Hanulak with Wood & Partners. We're a landscape architecture firm in town, and we have been very pleased to be able to help out on this project. It's been very exciting, and we are simply continuing the work that Paul has begun and has been adding to this particularly interesting part of Tallahassee. This is the site plan, and I apologize because it probably is hard to read, but basically it's about a 10-foot wide right-of-way, excuse me, that is currently has a pathway through it. There's lots of interesting plantings and an amazing amount of local artwork. If you haven't been there before, you really should go take a walk through there. The design is basically a reaction to the issues that we've encountered along the process. Unfortunately, there is a significant amount of rain runoff that occurs during heavy storm events, and there's washouts and exposed tree roots, and it's really an unsafe condition during these rain events and then the subsequent conditions afterwards. So the proposed design simply and with the help of Alicia, and she's been very significant in helping work through the stormwater issues. But the design for the alley is to install a porous pavement, a concrete that just through the design of it, the rainwater will hit, and a significant portion of it will infiltrate through the pavement, and which eliminates the runoff events that we're getting now. It won't take it away completely, and there is a rain garden that's proposed at the one end of it to kind of capture and cleanse some of this rainwater that is not infiltrating through the pavement. I'm going to try to click through here. Some of the designs or the proposed elements that we have for the alleyway, again, build on what Paul has brought into this space. We've envisioned using industrial materials, gabion walls, maybe some recycled, metal materials, some corrugated metal, some wood. And part of the proposal is trying to get some donations either through materials or maybe some help in constructing this. So to help control some of the runoff, we are going to have to build some small retaining walls to hold in the slope on the upper end. This image here shows an enlargement of the rain garden, which we are, currently, working with some other members of the community to help design this, to capture the rainwater and cleanse it, as I mentioned before. One of the other issues with the existing conditions is that it's a dark area, which on a sunny summer day, it's actually a wonderful space to be. It's very cool, but in the evening, we felt that we needed some light. So there'll be two elements, twinkle lights that will kind of happen in the canopy of the trees, and we will also be proposing some low-level pathway lighting to keep it safe. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm battling a cold here. Some of these issues are some of these images, of gabion walls, and the colored pavement is actually the porous pavement that we're proposing. Again, trying to pick up on the artistic nature of the alley, and this is just a concept design, and the final pattern is yet to be determined. And I think that's it. So does anybody have any questions on the design? I kind of went over it briefly, and it's an intricate space, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Move approval. Commissioner?
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Cynthia?
Yeah, the one part that I think that you all were very excited about, I forgot to mention the Alley Cratchers event that we'll be doing this spring. It's like a community build. We'll have the foundation laid, but we'll ask community members to come, and it'll be like a Habitat for Humanity. We come, it looks one way. When we leave, it's fantastic, and it's new and it's converted.
Nice.
Forgot to mention that.
Anybody else?
Great job.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, well, first of all, thank you to Paul. You must be so proud of this and so excited. He took me over there right after I was elected, and I honestly, you could see the germ of a project that was going to be fun, and it's been so organic, the way it's grown. Just what it is today versus what it was when I saw it. Having the Sprint was wonderful about moving their fence as soon as they realized it was in the alley, and it's just really evolved. So I'm very proud of your persistence and your vision on that. And all of you, thank you very much, because I know you've donated your time and your talent and to make this possible. So I really look forward to the Alley Crasher event, and it sounds like a lot of fun. So with that, we'll vote to approve.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Madam City Manager.
Commissioners, I understand that a couple of you need to leave and that you didn't anticipate being here this late. So we have a meeting next week. We have one more meeting. I hope that we want to be really thoughtful about the sales tax item.
It's important.
And I don't want to rush through it. So if you don't mind, I'd like to take that item and put it on the agenda for next week, and the target issue update as well.
Good idea.
So that,
That's
good, okay.
Let's
And
go
then that'll take us to our unagended speakers.
We have one unagended speaker, Mayor, Erwin Jackson.
Dr. Erwin Jackson, 1341 Jackson Bluff. Last week, every member of this commission, except for Commissioner Ziffer, voted to not implement the Ethics Advisory Panel's ethics proposal. Commissioner Ziffer offered to implement the panel's policy without change. Honest individuals do not need to fear an ethics policy. I watched this commission claim that an ethics policy was not needed. Somehow they forgot about the ruling of 7 state ethics officers that felt John Marks had acted unethically regarding Honeywell and ADE. How about the self-serving land deals and lobbying contracts enjoyed by Scott Maddox? Why has Scott failed to discuss involvement with Waste Pro and more recently his lobbying efforts for the McKibben Hotel Group? John seems to prefer having our city attorney act as an ethics officer, and I understand why. Remember City Attorney Jim English, who asked John Marks to check with his law firm about a conflict? Mr. Marks refused to verify the conflict with his law firm and then simply lied to the public, stating that he had. Why is the Florida Bar continuing to investigate the honesty of Mr. Marks' statements while under oath? I asked Scott to explain his lobbying efforts for the McKibben Group. Our current city attorney, Lou Shelley, provided cover for Scott. Our city attorney asked Scott to leave the chambers when the McKibben Group topic was discussed, but he went on to, quote, assure the public that no conflict existed. Well, Mr. Shelley, if there's no conflict, then Scott's required to vote. Why did you recommend that he not vote? This commission has worked hard to talk this proposal, ethics proposal, to death. I watched it for hours. The public heard, we don't understand how this is going to work. This is so complicated. How do I protect my law firm? This ethics policy is not complicated unless you're trying to circumvent its impact. Several communities have already, including Jacksonville and Palm Beach, were smart enough to implement an ethics policy, and so are we. Unfortunately, we have too many self-serving commissioners who fear operating within the ethical standards created by such a policy. I encourage each of you to support the ethics policy as written in total. If not, then I believe the public will assist me in placing it on the next city ballot. Our community will get an ethics policy with or without your support. Thank you very much.
Next item.
We do have a second speaker, Mayor Chris Timmons.
Chris Timmons.
Thank you so much. Okay, hello, my name is Chris Timmons. My address is 2749 West Tharp Street, apartment E6, Tallahassee, Florida 32303. I'm coming in.
You got to speak into that phone. So
thank you. I'm here today to just be a person here to support Jerry Say's effort to actually be a part of the Rhythm route. It's an important deal. She's been in Frenchtown for some time. As a business owner, she's doing something extremely important for jazz, because jazz is a very important American art, and I certainly hope we can do something to get that going. I don't know what the existing issue is, but it's definitely something that Jerry Say is intent on, and it's something that we should do for the art. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
That's the last speaker, Mayor.
Oh, sharing of ideas?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Well, I think that Dr. Jackson gave me a good segue into my sharing of ideas. I wanted to say that there were 18 recommendations, as you know, that came out of the ethics panel, 18 recommendations, and that we immediately passed 10 of those recommendations. So saying that we have ignored or that we're trying to circumvent the law is a little bit misleading. Unfortunately, there are several others that cause varying level of concern, and our staff, we have 4 appointed officials, several of you are, probably all of you are in the room, that we value highly, and we value your opinions. You've given us feedback on those other 8. We've got a great deal of consideration to do. We spent 2 hours discussing those 8, and they need further discussion. We sent staff back with our input. They're going to bring something back to us. I don't think it's feasible for us to put this in one big package on the December 11th agenda. What I'd like to see is, first of all, I want to ask all of you to consider them one at a time. Some of them will not require a lot of consideration. They're pretty straightforward still. Some others are troubling, and some others need a lot of discussion amongst the 5 of us and with our staff. So I would like to ask you all to consider bringing back some of them at our next meeting and then carrying over a few of the rest of them, because I really don't think it's fair to the recommendations and the committee with all the work they did and to the public. What we're doing here is going to have ramifications far beyond me. It's going to be very easy for me to comply with these things. But I can see other people with other backgrounds who couldn't possibly consider running for office, because it would literally be impossible to make absolutely sure that you didn't have a conflict as they are defined by some of the ethics recommendations. So there are varying levels of our ability to actually invite people into the democratic process. I really feel like some of them are literally discriminatory towards some entire professions. So that's my ask. If we could split them up, take a few at a time, I would appreciate that very much.
How many more do we have?
There are 8.
8. I understand exactly what you're saying. After you read the document, you can see that there is some more to be done to those 8. And I don't have, what is your preference, commissioners?
The purpose is that we don't have, well, first of all, I feel like that we are taking draconian measures in some cases to solve a problem that I do not see up here, frankly.
Really?
The other thing is that I don't want to discourage people from running for office. And some of these recommendations, I feel, will very definitely discourage some people from running for office. It's not a matter of, it doesn't have anything to do with me personally. I'm not going to have, and several of you, they offered to grandfather us in for that matter. But the fact is, it really isn't even, and my comment when I was interviewed on WCTV was, I don't care about being grandfathered in, but if we're going to do it, let's do it. And if we're not going to do it, let's don't. But the bottom line is that this applies to not only us, it applies to all of our management, all of our employees, everybody. And the reason people get in trouble 99% of the time is that they step into a mud pie that they didn't see sitting there on the ground in front of them. And so the recommendations relating to staff education, relating to education of even us, although I want to assure everybody that when we come into office, at least and I'm sure this is true of everybody, but my own personal experience was a couple of hours and then weekly visits with Jim English based on my opportunity to really, really understand exactly what the limitations of the voting are, what the legal requirements of voting are. And I don't want to have collateral damage that discourages people from running for office. That's my biggest concern about this entire package.
Okay. What's your pleasure, commissioners? I think Commissioner Miller has suggested that we don't bite off the whole thing, but take a little bit of choose and over time reach a decision on all these things. Yes, Commissioner.
Well, one, I want to appreciate Commissioner Miller for her fidelity not only to her own individual service on this board, but the impacts for commissions to come, future potential commissions to come. And I actually think that's a responsibility we all have to take very, very seriously when considering any action, but particularly those that may impact people's choice to run for public office. I'll tell you, my very personal preference is to move as quickly and thoughtfully through this process and dispose of these issues as quickly as we can. The amount of misinformation, I don't know how much more I want to inherit after the holidays. So to the extent that we can move through as many of these prior to the end of this year as possible, I really, really strongly urge that. Commissioner, if there are ones that you particularly feel you'd like to sit with a little longer and maybe even get, additional counsel on and feedback from maybe even people who have run for public office before from a diversity of backgrounds that may shed some light on unforeseen impediment. I'd say that maybe we get something scheduled for January to pick up on the remainder of those, but I really do have a preference for us trying to settle as many of these issues as possible.
Yes, Commissioner.
I think I don't have any problem voting on them half and half or all together or whatever. I just think that the language was too loose in them. So we were identifying problems that had to be brought back by staff that were tightened, that the committee members agreed the language was too loose in. And so there would be unintended consequences. I appreciate what you say, Commissioner Miller, about people not wanting to run for office. And we just had an event for Steve Meisberg, Commissioner Steve Meisberg, and he was being recognized for pushing for the Winter Festival. I can remember a group called themselves the Junkyard Dogs that would come to every commission meeting and say that Commissioner Meisberg was somehow profiting personally from wanting to do the Winter Festival. Of course, none of that's true. Well, Mr. Jackson does the same thing. I mean, Mr. Jackson said, or worse, I'm trying to keep up with all of them, but he said that the mayor was going to be let out of here in handcuffs. The FBI was going to indict the mayor. It was absolutely imminent. It was going to happen any moment. That has not happened, obviously, as the mayor still sits to my left.
And will be here.
He says that that the mayor took $1 million from Honeywell. He says that... Absolute
lie.
Let me finish if we could, Mr. Mayor. Then you can go to yours.
I don't want to say anymore.
He has said that I somehow mentored the mayor of Detroit who was arrested for corruption. I never met the mayor of Detroit. He has said that he put out a letter recently saying that the interim fire chief was my cousin, and I was pushing for him to be the fire chief. Of course, I am of no relation to that gentleman whatsoever. I do have to claim that County Commissioner Nick Maddox, however, is my first cousin.
You won't deny him.
And now he continues to speak about law work that I've done when I wasn't an elected official. And I guess tonight he said that I took $300 million from disabled veterans. And it's just absolutely absurd. It's ridiculous. And unfortunately, that's part of what you have to go through today if you want to be in public office. But the reason that we have to get the ethics policy correct is because there will always be people who are not afraid of lying and will file charges, whether it's because they're just mean or they have something to gain from it, or they're mentally unstable, or they don't have any hobbies in their life, or all the above, which we hear from every meeting. And I'm sure when Mr. Jackson's gone,
Not going to have equal time to respond to all these things?
No,
We don't get equal time?
Thank you.
Those statements weren't accurate.
So
If we want to have a debate, I'm available to debate
Thank
with
you.
you exactly what we've talked about.
thank you, Mr. Jackson.
I'll be
So-
available anytime you want to.
Thank you,
Go
Mr.
right ahead and have your fun.
So, I mean, that's basically the case, and we have it every meeting after meeting. And we'll continue to, unfortunately, probably when Mr. Jackson's gone, there'll be another one that'll pop up and take his place. So the bottom line with the ethics vote, I'm willing to take it whenever you
Have
want to
me
take it.
coming up here and talking
Yes.
to you
Mr. Mayor,
until you start acting
Mayor, if you could,
ethically.
Mr.
Then
Jackson,
I'll
you're
quit.
out of order.
Once we get an ethics policy, then I'm going back to my real job. Another incentive to vote for it. Thank you very much.
Sit down, please.
And that's what you get, is bullying. And I guess if you're accustomed to bullying, that you just continue to do it. But what's important on the ethics policy is that it's written right, that our legal staff make sure that it's something that is enforceable and defendable. So whenever staff feels like they've gotten the language back to be able to do that, I'm ready to vote on it.
Mm-hmm. Commissioner Ziffer?
I'm going to respond, but before I forget, don't forget spay and neuter. We're getting to that time of year. People get pets for gifts, and just make sure you take care of that. Clearly, I was coming from a different place than the rest of this commission as far as the position of an ethics officer. If I could just suggest the following, maybe determination be made of whoever this ethics person is going to be, where they're going to reside within this government. Maybe identify who they are and help them, perhaps have them go back and review all these recommendations and make some suggestions to us, because they're going to be the ones that have to implement them and also follow through on them and make sure that this government follows through on them. So it's just a suggestion, because the language was extremely complicated and complex, and I'm thinking whoever this ethics person is and where they reside, since they're going to have to do it, maybe they could be part of this process.
I was tempted to let Irvin Jackson come up and continue so that the public can see what we're dealing with, but I don't think we need to do that today. Anything else? Anything else? There's nothing? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
That's fine.
and review a current list of available positions with the City of Tallahassee. Now stay tuned for a complete listing of job opportunities with the City of Tallahassee.